Hi, everyone. I like to begin with a Bible reading from the book of Hebrews, chapter 6. It says, "For God is not unjust. He will not forget how hard you have worked for Him and how you have shown your love to Him by caring for other believers, as you still do. Our great desire is that you will keep on loving others as long as life lasts, in order to make certain that what you hope for will come true. Then you will not become spiritually dull and indifferent. Instead, you will follow the example of those who are going to inherit God's promises because of their faith and endurance." And from Divine Principle, page 128 says, "When the mind of John the Baptist was focused on God, he recognized Jesus as the Messiah and testified to him. Later, when the inspiration left him and he returned to a mundane state, his ignorance returned and exasperated his faithlessness." Page 129 says, "Since Jesus came to establish the kingdom of heaven on earth, he was more in need of one leader who could lead 1,000 than 1,000 who could follow a leader." So, I used to come to Sacramento every Wednesday. Can I move forward?
Yes.
How far can I keep moving? I used to come to Sacramento every Wednesday for years. For years and years. And many of you know because you were my audience at that time. Unfortunately, I don't have as much time to do that anymore. I'm responsible for 11 states and 24 churches and all kinds of activities. So it's nice to come back to Sacramento. This morning before coming here, I drove by the old church, the two old churches actually on Tribute Road, where we used to be. It looked cold and lonely without the Sacramento church. So glad to be here with you this morning. The most significant thing taking place in our movement just happened a couple of weeks ago. We had the World Summit for the reunification of North and South Korea. I want to tell you, this is probably the most historic and significant event in our history's movement. Just incredible. Just amazing. If you followed it, some of you remember the days of intense persecution where, we couldn't bring anybody to anything.
Right.
Because people would treat us, people were practicing social distancing with us long before it was popular with other people. Right? We've all got stories of being thrown out of places, or here's typically what happens. Somebody would say, "Yeah, I'm going to come. Yeah, right. It's great to meet you guys." And then they go home and they talk to somebody and they find out who we are, and we never see them again, right? They don't show up. Or worse, they get negative and start spreading rumors and all kinds of stuff. So some of us became kind of accustomed to that. It's like you meet somebody and you go, "Yeah, I'm with the Unification Church." And if they don't react, you go, "The Unification Church? Reverend Moon? Moonies? What's wrong with you? You're supposed to persecute me at this point." Almost like we expect it. But those days may be changing, shall I say. So I want to tell you, when our founder, Father Moon, died, a lot of people thought, well, how are things going to progress? How is things going to move forward? He was such a charismatic person. He was such a powerhouse. Who could replace him? Who could step up? His children? Doesn't look like it. But who stepped up was his wife. And I want to tell you, this is not any criticism of Father Moon, but she may be more clear and more built on the foundation that for years and years, 60 plus years of marriage, she has taken it to another level. Maybe she's got spiritual help. Maybe from the other side he's helping her. Not maybe, he is helping her. But she is a powerhouse. And she knows what she's doing. When I first joined this church, I met this church in 1979 in San Diego, California. I had been to Nicaragua for the revolution. I was a communist. I went to Nicaragua, because the communists were taking over. And I thought, wow, the world's going to change. The communists finally coming to power. When I got down there, it wasn't exactly what I expected. It was a mess. And I left Nicaragua and I went, traveling around Central America. Those were the days when you could hitchhike. All right? Didn't cost you anything to go anywhere. Just stick your thumb out and get a ride and see where you end up. Hey, where are you going? I'm going wherever you're going. Let's go. And anyway, I hitchhiked around Mexico, and eventually I came back across the border and I met our church. And I didn't believe in God. I didn't, this was all a shock to me that I was even interested. But hearing divine principle was mind-blowing for me. Mind-blowing. And one of the things that I heard early times was, the kingdom of heaven will really start when North and South Korea unite. North and South Korea unity was the key to beginning a world transformation. I didn't understand that. I just took it on faith. Okay, you said it, I believe it, that settles it. But, the idea is God needs a nation. The nation of Korea is the nation God chose to work through. And then that nation got split in two. So the beginning of God taking control of this world and making a new world comes when God's nation is put back together. So our true parents, Reverend and Mrs. Moon, have been working on that their whole life. That's the undercurrent of our movement. That's the piece that we're working towards, despite everything else we do. Everything else we do is to support that. So in the last couple of years, Mother Moon has just brought that back into focus. We really got to unite North and South Korea. Because if we don't, something tragic is going to happen. Something bad is going to happen. So let's work on bringing it. It's not a popular message with most people. They go, Korea? Where's that? Yeah. Is that in China or something? You don't even know where it is, right? But when we study God's history, God's providence, we know the significance of Korea. So Mother Moon has brought it back into focus. And she's been holding for the last couple of years these rallies of hope. And, when COVID hit, we thought we can't do anything. Everything's on lockdown. We can't even get together. It's all over. It's, nothing we can do until that thing goes away. But she said, no. I want to have a rally of hope that reaches millions of people. And I thought to myself, that's a lot of masks. Maybe I'll go in the mask business. But how are you going to bring millions of people? At the same time she said that, this new technology emerged where you could have for want of a better word, a Zoom call for millions at once. Millions of people at once. That technology wasn't there a short while ago. That technology is new and emerging. And in fact, we were one of the pioneers to make this worldwide get-together. And it's amazing. We started having rallies of hope, and it was broadcast on national TV in about 8-9 different countries. So it was reaching millions of people. And we brought together leaders from all over the world. Presidents, prime ministers, religious leaders. In 2020, February 2020, bitterly cold in Korea, we had the last in-person event we could have. And it was in Korea, and the Korean government said, this pandemic is just starting. We would rather you don't have it. And we were thinking, it would be a terrible thing if some president came here and got COVID. Wouldn't that be a disaster? But Mother Moon said, no, let's do it. And we did it, and all these people came from Africa and Asia and America, and we had this World Summit, and it was the most phenomenal event. And nobody got COVID. Not one case of COVID. And in fact, the government had said, if one person gets COVID, we shut it down. So they had people watching. And it never happened. Shortly after that, the whole country closed down. Like weeks later, it was shut down. So we had this event. And then after that, it looks like everything's shut down, nothing we can do. Let's do it online. So we started doing it online. And the amazing thing is, the kinds of people that we're able to attract is very different than in the people we used to attract. The people we used to attract were on this level. The people we attract now are on this level. And I always remember, Father spoke in Oakland, California, one time, and I was responsible for putting on the speech and getting the people together. And usually you try to bring one important person who will introduce the speaker, gives it some kind of dignity to the program. So we always struggled. Who can we get? Who can we bring? I brought the assistant to the secretary of some chintzy organization somewhere. I can't remember what it was. I mean, it was desperation. The assistant to the secretary of somebody. And he introduced Father. But the event seemed very wonderful. And at the end of the event, when it's over, I was escorting Father Moon back to his room, and we get in the elevator, and I'm feeling pretty good, like, wow, that was a good event. And I'm standing in the event, in the elevator, and he turns to me and he says, "How's the governor?" And the governor at that time was Schwarzenegger. Remember? And I said, you mean Schwarzenegger? And he said, yeah, don't you know you should be meeting with him every week? You should be giving him spiritual advice. You should guide his spiritual life. He said that to me, and I'm like, and then it opens and he walks out. I'm left in the back of the elevator like, I guess the assistant to the secretary of SOS wasn't what he was looking for. He was looking for something higher, that we should be reaching higher level people. And so, 2020, we brought the most incredible, high-level, really important and dignified people from both left and right, and communists and strong democratic countries and all kinds of people. We brought them together, had a great event, and then let's do these online. So we tapped into the people we had met and said, we want you to be our speaker. Anybody who gives speeches, all you have to do is give them a platform to speak, and they feel good, right? So we brought lots and lots of people, and it was really high-level people. And then one day, Mother Moon says to Tom McDivitt, who some of you know from the Washington Times, she says to Tom McDivitt, "You should bring the President of the United States. How would you like to get that mission?" "Irma, I want you to bring the President of the United States." Yeah, that's what Tom McDivitt did. What? And Tom McDivitt said, "I just said, yes, we'll do it." He didn't feel it, he didn't believe it, but he said, "Yes, we'll do it." Yes, sir. Within 40 days, he was in the White House meeting with the president. Wow. How did that happen? How did that happen? We couldn't, are you kidding me? We couldn't get near the President of the United States for nothing. And now the President of the United States invited Tom McDivitt from the Washington Times to come to his office. And not only that, the Pope in Rome invited Tom Walsh from UPF to come there and be part of a religious program to figure out how we're going to make a difference in the world. And all these changes started happening. All these doors started opening. It was amazing. And to hear these brothers who had the mission of doing this, first of all, I always feel like, thank God it was them and not me. But we had this series of rallies of hopes with incredible speakers. And again, communist speakers and Donald Trump speakers, as far and wide as you can imagine. And Mother made this whole organization. And she put in charge of the organization the Cambodian president, Hun Sen, who's a communist. And Ban Ki-moon, who was Secretary General of the United Nations, who's about as leftist as you can get. He's almost a communist himself. And Representative Dan Burton from America, who's on the conservative side. And a few other people, Jose Divinicio from the Philippines. And she made this organization. And the amazing thing was, once she made this organization, it opened up the doors for many more people to come. Why? Because, if Ban Ki-moon is there, it's okay to go. If Dan Burton is there, it's okay to go. Because people hang around with people they can trust and people they know. So, from America, Dan Burton, he invited, you know who Dan Burton is, right? Former congressman from Indiana, longtime congressman, 30 years. And now he's working closely with our movement. And so he was able to invite Newt Gingrich, who was the former Speaker of the House of Representatives. Why did Newt Gingrich come? Because he trusted Dan Burton. That's how it works. Hun Sen was able to invite other presidents and prime ministers who were more of a communist persuasion. Why? Because they trust him. Two parents are not right-wing or left-wing. They are head-wing. Let's embrace everybody. Let's bring everybody together. So, bit by bit, the doors open for more and more people. And so then we decided we're going to have a world summit in this February this year, this month. Again, how are we going to do it if we're in lockdown? We decided we're going to do it partially in person and partially by the internet. In person, we decided to invite 200 high-level leaders. Problem was, the government said, no, you cannot bring them. We're not allowing anybody to come into Korea unless they go for 14 days quarantine. You cannot invite a head of state to go in 14 days quarantine. But we kept bugging them. Look, this is important, and we're going to do this, and it's centered upon North and South Korea unity, and da-da-da. And they kept saying no, and no, and no. 2 days before, they finally gave permission for certain people to come. So Hun Sen from Cambodia and from America, Vice President Pence, and Secretary of State Pompeo, they were given permission to come. But when they came, they had to go into quarantine. They had to go into quarantine before they would be released. Not 14 days, but they had to go into quarantine until they were tested for COVID. So these high-level people arrived at Incheon Airport, and immediately they had to get on a government bus, and they got taken to a hotel. They don't know where the hotel is. They didn't choose the hotel. And they go to a hotel that is of the government's choosing. They get to the Vice President Mike Pence. He gets to this hotel next to Kimpo Airport. He goes to the hotel. There was no light in the room. There was no heat in the room. There was no hot water in the room. Actually, it turned out there was light in the room. He just didn't know how to turn on the lights. You ever been to Asia? You know what you do in Asia? You take the card to get in the room, and you put it in a slot to turn on the lights. Do you know this? Yeah. So if you didn't know that, first time I saw that, I didn't know how to do it. So Mike Pence is in the dark in this hotel. Lighting matches. Where am I going? And it's freezing in Korea right this time of year. And the heater didn't work. And there was no hot water. And he's in this hotel just kind of waiting. And he's got all these bodyguards with him. As they travel with people. And they're all like, what are we doing here? And he said, Mother Moon called. This is God's will. I want to be with it. Wow. He didn't need to come. He didn't need to put himself through that difficulty. But he did it. And the other heads of state, they all did it. They went through this, and they got the test, and they got passed, and eventually made it up to our hotel where we were having the event. And these high level people, if you saw it, they all testified to True Mother. Why they were there is because they were moved by the heart of True Mother. They were moved by her love. You could see they were very smitten with her, but they were also moved by her vision of what is she doing. And if you heard their speeches, I think it was Mike Pompeo said, governments are not going to solve this problem. Governments, just argue with each other. It's going to take something else to solve the entrenched problem of North and South Korea. And then that will be a model of how to solve problems throughout the world. That's what we've always believed. And here is, high-level leaders saying this. They got the message. It was amazing. So, by miracle, things started happening. And I think back, and, Mother Moon said to us, if you unite with me, absolutely great things will happen. If you always resist what I'm saying, it makes it difficult. It makes it difficult, and nothing good can happen. Nothing good can happen for you. Nothing good can happen for the providence. So you got to unite. So Mike Jenkins, when he was reporting all this stuff, he said the condition, the spiritual condition that was made for all this to happen, happened through our continental director, Dr. Young, who pulled together the country, centered upon a morning devotion. You know about this? Morning devotion every day. 6 a.m. on the East Coast, 6 a.m. on the West Coast, or anytime you want to watch it. If we all pull together and make a condition together, good things happen. You all have training in this. You know how it works. Many of you are on fundraising teams. On a fundraising team, it was either heaven or hell. Right? It was heaven when everybody was united, and things started happening beyond our capability. People started, breaking through and having great experiences and meeting the right people. When you're not united, you get pulled over by the police, you get thrown in jail, you get your products stolen, all kinds of bad things can happen. That still holds true. When there's unity centered upon a godly purpose, it allows God to work in miraculous ways. So the condition that was made from America to bring victory was morning devotion. All over the country, thousands of our church members are participating in this condition. I'll tell you honestly, I don't like it every day. Sorry. Some days I'm into it, and some days I want to go back to bed. Don't report that to my boss. Oh, it's recorded. Oh, God. I don't care. That's the reality. But I go there every day anyway, because I want to make a condition with all brothers and sisters. And even when the message, I don't get it or it doesn't hit me, the sharing with other brothers and sisters is great. You get to meet and share with people from all over the country who normally I'd never see, people I don't even know. And we get to share our gratitudes for the day. We start off with, what are you grateful for today? When you put your mind towards gratitude for the day, your whole day is going to be different. You change your mindset. Or you stay with grumpy all day. Which one you like? Everybody wakes up somewhat grumpy, somewhat, well, no, not just keep it to yourself, change it. Change it to gratitude by expressing gratitude to other people. When Dr. Young started, he said, write down 10 gratitude points every morning. That's a lot. I don't have that much gratitude. 1 or 2, yeah, but come on. 10. But the point of it is, you change your mindset. You have a much better day if you're thinking grateful thoughts. If you're thinking negative thoughts, good luck. Good luck. Because the law of attraction is you will attract wherever you're at. And if you're full of negativity, guess who you're going to attract? If you're full of gratitude, you'll attract more things to be grateful for. It really works. It really works. And sometimes, when I'm not sure that I'm grateful for anything, then we get it put in a little group of three people, and we share gratitudes with each other, and then I go, oh yeah, I'll be grateful for that one too. We empower each other. It's wonderful. I encourage you to become part of this spiritual movement which allows God to work. Make it your daily routine. then God will work not only in the big sense, God will work in your own life too. It really works. So, yeah, I really believe in Mother's leadership. I think she's picked up exactly what Father was working on for all those years. After all, she was there with him all those years. She knew what was going on better than anybody. And she's picked it up, and now with a woman's touch. In one sense, people were afraid of Father because he was so strong. He was a scary dude. You know, I'm not kidding you. To be closely around him was scary at times. Because he was so powerful, so righteous, so uncompromising. Mother is the same of that, but with a mother's touch. A feminine touch. So it's a little bit easier to take. But she's as strong and powerful as Father was. And miracles are happening. I'm telling you. And thank God for those members who are given these incredible tasks. Go and bring the President of the United States. And they go and do it. Go and meet, you know, the head of the African Union, the European Union. Go and meet the President of Brazil. And they're bringing those kinds of people. It's amazing. It's phenomenal what's taking place. So, Korea becoming unified is going to make a huge difference. Watch out. Watch out. It's going to be incredible. It's going to happen. Oh, how's it going to happen? Is that what you said? Oh, it's not going to happen by some technique. First of all, why Mother's bringing all of those different people? Because all of them have some connection to Kim Jong-un. They're not just randomly brought. One of the countries with the greatest diplomatic relationships with North Korea is Cambodia. And Hun Sen can go to North Korea anytime. And by the way, Mother has a standing ovation, standing invitation from Kim Jong-un to come to North Korea. Remember, she went to North Korea once before with Father. Right? But what she discovered was we didn't have enough backup to make it work. It could have changed everything right then. But they didn't have backup. So next time she goes to North Korea, she wants to bring with her leaders from countries all over the world, and religions, and scientists, and economic people. And she wants to go there to say to Kim Jong-un, we want to help you to make your nation number one, best nation. Play to his pride, right? We're not coming here to kick you out. We're not coming here to kill you. We're coming to help you get into the current century. Get with it. And we're coming here to really help you to expand. Then you'll become the best leader North Korea ever had. And then if you are responsible for bringing North and South Korean unity, you will go down in history. Otherwise, you will go down in history for another reason.
You don't have to say that.
So, I don't know all the details, but I believe Mother has a plan. And that she's working on it step by step. And she brought together leaders from 26 countries who have diplomatic relationships with North Korea. They're not just random people. Why did she want to bring Trump? She's not a fan of Trump or against Trump. She wanted to bring Trump because he's the only American president who met Kim Jong-un. It's not about his politics. She doesn't care about his politics. She cares about who can open doors with this guy. Who can open hearts. And if we make the right spiritual condition, It can change his heart. That's what she's working on. That's what's going on here. Amazing. So, where does that leave you and me? I'm looking for some people to go to North Korea. No, I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking for that. You'll go. There will be some, I was going to say crazy people who will go. Crazy for God people. I want to tell you, especially you first generation older unificationists, you are not church members. You are missionaries. You always were. You know, one of the most boring questions in the world for me is, how many members do you have in your church? I never know how to answer that. You know, in the Bay Area Family Church, on paper we have 1,200 members. And you know, the question is, how many of them are on a mission, doing something? That's what's important. Not how many of them are, you know, on a paper roll, but how many of them are missionaries? You know, in the Jewish religion, how do you show that you are a Jew? What's the sign of being a Jew? Circumcision. That's right. Who said that? Oh, Eleanor, of course. Jewish boys are circumcised. That's the sign. How about Christians? How do you show you're a Christian? Through baptism. Did you see my sermon before? Baptism. How do you show you're a unificationist? Through the blessing. Through the blessing. Show your ring. But when you become a Christian, when you become a unificationist, you get blessed. You're not blessed to just sit on it. You're blessed to bless others, to give to others. If you're baptized as a Christian, your mission is to introduce other people to being a Christian. For us, we are blessed to be a blessing to others, and we are on a mission. You are on a mission wherever you are at right now. You have a mission. I know you're scared when I say that. But I'm telling you, I'm not asking you to move, to change, quit your job, do anything different, except see yourself as a missionary. I'm a missionary for God. It will change your own thinking. I'm on a mission for God. If anybody asks you, what do? You tell them, I'm on a mission for God. The Blues Brothers said it, we can say it. I'm on a mission for God. The message is always the same. Jesus was asked, tell me the Cliff Note version of the Bible. Just boil it down. He said, easy. Love God with all your heart and soul and mind. Where did he get that from? Did he think he made that up? It's in the book of Deuteronomy. It's in the Bible. It's in the Hebrew Bible. He said, love God with all your heart and soul and mind. And he added one more, love your neighbor as yourself. Vertical and horizontal. Foundation of faith, foundation of substance. We change the language, but it's always the same. Love God and love people. That's your mission. You're on a mission to do that. The more you love God, the more you can love other people. If you don't have a vertical relationship, you run out of energy. You run out of steam. You give up. But if you're connecting to God every day, if you are getting plugged in every day, you've got more energy. You don't have to become a crazy person. You just have to learn how to love each other. To love that person who lives right next door to you, which you're already doing, I'm sure. Just do it more. That person you go to work with, that person you stop at the gas station, just be a blessing to other people. Be a missionary wherever you go. Dr. Young, our continental director, really wants eventually to send young missionaries all over the world. My wife and I went to Salt Lake City.
Define young.
Define young, good. Under 40.
Okay.
We went to Salt Lake City and we had a private meeting with leaders of the LDS church. And it was great. I mean, the church that is most like us is the LDS church. Not in theology, but in practice. And in many ways, they're way ahead of us. They've got a couple of 100 years or 150 years head start. But we met with the leaders of the LDS church. And then we got a tour around the temple. And so Dr. Young asked this one man, how many missionaries do you have from the LDS church right now? And they said, we have 50,000 missionaries out right now. 50,000 missionaries. Dr. Young was lit up like a beacon. Whoa! Excellent. He also asked, how do those missionaries, how do you pay for them to go out?
The family sponsors them.
They pay for themselves. Their family pays. They don't go on an MFT team. They don't, raise their own money. They may raise their own money, but they raise their money before they go on the mission.
They stay in people's houses.
Well, they stay in missionary houses, missionary places, yeah. But they got to pay for that. So, anyway, Dr. Young was really inspired, and he's now on a roll that he wants to build up our missionary task force. Right now, we have 80 missionaries, young missionaries from America, who are out in different countries. And the difference between LDS missionaries or other Christian missionaries and our missionaries is our missionaries are promoting the blessing, true parents, divine principle. That's what our missionaries are promoting. LDS missionaries are promoting the Book of Mormon. Christian missionaries are promoting, the Bible and the Christian way of life. All great. We're all in line with all of them. But we want to, send out young missionaries, short-term or long-term, to spread the message. We need to do that. And the LDS couple who took us on a tour around the temple and all of their buildings was a couple who came from Santa Clara. You know where Santa Clara is? Next to San Jose. So this couple, probably my age, I'm guessing. The man was a successful lawyer in Santa Clara, big company he owned. And the LDS church said, we really need you. Quit your business. And he quit his business and he gave up everything and he went to be a missionary. And now he's a missionary in Salt Lake City. Full time. I was inspired by this guy. My point today is that we are all missionaries. You don't have to go anywhere to be a missionary. You can be a missionary right where you are. If you think about the history of the unification movement, it's very short, very small history. But, I think of John F. Kennedy. In 1963, John F. Kennedy said, we're going to put a man on the moon in this decade. Do you know when he said that, the technology to do so wasn't available? We didn't have the computers to do it. You've got more computer power in your cell phone than they had at that time. But he set the vision. We're going to put a man on the moon. And the mission was in 3 phases. The Mercury phase. The Mercury phase was just to get somebody out of the orbit. Get them into space. See if we can get them out there and come back. All right? So they did that. The second phase was the Gemini phase. The second phase, we're going to see if we can get somebody to do a spacewalk. They asked Michael Jackson to do it, but he couldn't do it. You're going to do a spacewalk. You're going to go out and come back to the ship and do some other things. It was the third one that actually put somebody on the moon.
That was a tether. It was tethered to the module.
Right. Bit by bit. I mean, they did a number of different goals of making it work and learning how to do it. And then eventually the Apollo phase put a man on the moon. Remember that? When my grandmother saw on this little black and white TV about this big, barely could see it, looked like it was in a snowstorm. My grandmother saw a man on the moon. She said, "That's BS. There's no man on the moon. That's in the desert in Nevada somewhere. Those Americans trying to fool us. You think we're stupid or something?" She remembered the day when there was no flight. There was no airplanes. Now there's a man on the moon. Kevin, don't ever believe those Americans. That's what she told me. Anyway, I see our movement going in 3 different phases also, especially in terms of missionaries. The first missionaries that were sent out from Korea came to America and Japan in 1959, 1960, like that. Then in 1975, missionaries from America, Japan, and Germany were sent out around the world. Eleanor, how old were you when you went out?
22.
Huh?
22.
22 years old. 22 years old, she was sent out along with, people from Germany and America and Japan to go to these countries. It was like the Mercury mission. Let's see if they'll even survive. We had no idea what we were doing. Right? It was just like, send them out and see if something happens. Of course something happened. They laid seeds that many years later, those seeds have become fruit. It takes time, but the seeds have to be laid. Then it becomes fruit. Then later, Father sent out national messiahs. Remember that? People went out as a national messiah, representing the Messiah, right, Rutherford? The national messiah. And there was a time when there were boom bong wongs. Anybody remember the boom bong wongs? Can't remember the name, but... And also, for many of us, Father also sent us out on short-term missions. Going out for 40 days to a different country and just lay some seeds. Go out there and do what you can do. 40 days. Many of our brothers and sisters did that. Missionaries going out. It's amazing. And Father has always had this sense that we are missionaries, not members. When Father started Ocean Church, he sent out the pioneers for Ocean Church as missionaries. And he gave them instructions what to do. And I always remember, I wasn't there at that time, but later on I learned about this. I know what Father's intention was. So, I want you to be a missionary right where you are. I want you to change your mentality. You're not a member of anything. You're a missionary. You're God's representative. And you're thinking, what? I'm so old and I'm creaking and, all my money problems and...
Sow some seeds.
It doesn't matter. Nobody's sending you out because you're rich. Nobody's sending you out because you're so handsome and beautiful. Nobody's sending you. I'm sending you out today as God's missionaries, exactly as you are. By first of all changing our mentality and having the mindset, I'm on a mission from God. If some young people can go out overseas, let's go. I'm ready to send you. But I'm not promoting that. I'm saying be a missionary right where you are. How to do it? I want you to adopt the city you live in. Claim it for God. Just make a prayer, God, I claim this city. Whichever city you live in.
Amen.
What city do you live in, Barbara?
Sacramento and San Diego.
Sacramento and San Diego. Okay. You're dual missionary. Kazakasana. Where do you live?
Elk Grove.
Elk Grove. Just say, Elk Grove, I'm claiming for God. But here's the practical thing to do. You start praying for the leadership in Elk Grove. Means you got to know who's leading here, who's the mayor, who's the city council, and start praying for these people. Then what you want to do is you want to get out there and meet them. Just say hello to them. Get to know who your leaders are, and you're praying for them. When you pray for them and you meet them, they're going to feel something. You say, okay, I come here representing UPF, Women's Federation. And at first, your goal is to give them father or mother's book. It might take you a year. But you have a goal. You set out with a goal. I'm praying for the leaders of this city, that this city can do the work of God. And I'm praying for them and I want to meet them. That means you've got to show up where you can meet them. When they have a rally or when they have an event, you show up. And you don't just sit in the back, you make yourself known and you say, hi, I'm from, nice to meet you. And bit by bit they begin to see, wow, this girl keeps showing up. And then you get a chance to talk. You give the autobiography. I represent this couple because I'm telling you, our two parents' name is going to resurrect very soon. It's going to change. It's not like the old days. So then you get a chance to report to the leader of your city things that are going on in our movement. I'm part of this movement and we're having these world summits. And I just want you to know that this is what's going on. And bit by bit you get to know them. And over time, you get to even invite them to something. The right thing. You got to know what's the right thing to invite them to. But you invite them, especially, invite them to Washington, D.C. or San Diego or wherever we're having some event in the future. You get to invite people and you are claiming this city for God. Believe me, there's a lot of people who are claiming your city for Satan. And nobody's claiming it for God. And then if you want to get really radical, you witness to 3 people in your city. Oh my God, now you're meddling. How are you going to witness to 3 people? I saw a cop in LA, the way that they witness. It might be a way that everybody can do. And Tomoko can show you how to do this. They have a survey. This survey, you go up to people and say, hey, excuse me, you got a minute? And you ask these questions on the survey. There's simple questions like, do you believe in the spirit world? Do you believe there's life after death? Something like that. And it engages in you find out who you can have a spiritual conversation with. And then what they do in LA is they have people read the divine principles straight. You don't have to lecture. You just give them a sheet of paper which has the information and ask them, can you read this? and they read a paragraph, and then you have a discussion about it. And it's working. They bring in lots of people like this. My bottom line is, please let's change our thinking. Don't retire. Put on new tires. Retire. Put on new tires. Joshua Carter. Put on your new tires and keep going for another 30,000 miles. Reboot. You know, reboot? Reboot is a new word that only came into existence about 20 years ago. What does reboot mean? Restart your computer. So my wife often comes to me, I can't do this. I do the same thing every time. Turn the darn thing off and reboot. And 90% of the time it solves the problem. When do you reboot your computer? You reboot it when it's been on too long. Right? And it's gathered all kinds of stuff. It's picked up lots of junk. You just need to turn it off and give it a rest. And then turn it back on, and boom, it's ready to go. Reboot. You sometimes your computer freezes. Good time to reboot. Turn the thing off. Some of us get frozen, right? We're the frozen chosen. We need to reboot. We reboot when we're losing our memory in the computer. Or in your mind. Reboot. We also reboot when we need a system update. We need a system update. We need a refresh. Right? You're still working on Windows 97. You know, you need a reboot. You need to get up to date. I'm telling you, we'll always need rebooting. We need a refresh of our spiritual thinking. And if you've been a missionary in this movement for any length of time, your mission's not over. Your mission's still going. Keep going. And you'll get to the end of your life and you'll feel good about your life. You'll have accomplished something. A friend of mine in LA goes to bed Friday night. Saturday morning she wakes up. Her husband's still in bed, still asleep. She goes to wake him up and he's cold. He died overnight. I told my wife, that's how I want to go. I don't want to suffer in bed for years. I hope I wake up cold. The Bible reading this morning. For God is not unjust. He'll not forget how hard you have worked for Him and how you have shown your love to Him by caring for other believers as you still do. Our great desire is that you will keep on loving others as long as life lasts, in order to make certain that what you hope for will come true. Then you will not become spiritually dull and indifferent. Instead, you will follow the example of those who are going to inherit God's promises because of their faith and endurance. Don't live a mundane life. Live an exciting, joy-filled life. It all begins in your mind. Amen. How you see things. That's why we do these gratitudes every morning, to change our thinking. Change your thinking about who you are. Change your reboot. Change your attitude. You are a missionary. You are on a mission from God, right where you are. Be God's representative in your city. And if you ask God, God will guide and direct you what to do, how to proceed. Don't give up. Don't go to sleep. Don't become cold. God bless you.